We've got a pretty exciting product with us today because this is the first made in India from an Indian manufacturer, reasonably priced, proper maxi scooter in our market. It's the Xoom 160. It's been a long time coming. They first showed it in EICMA 2023. They launched it in January this year and it's finally out for us to ride, and deliveries will begin soon as well. Now, this is a scooter that's been seen before. You already know the specs, but we'll get to that in a bit. But I think the big deal with this scooter is how it looks. Hero has done a great job with the overall design, the outline of the scooter, the proportions that it carries, because this really does look like a premium, expensive maxi scooter. The theme with this one particularly is more of an ADV maxi scooter, and before that gets you very excited, let me tell you that's not really the case. We'll get down to it later, but it hits the right spots when it comes to having a big frontal area, tall handlebar, 14-inch wheels, side floorboards on both ends. You've got the fuel tank sitting in the center. That is a fairly large 7-litre fuel tank, which is bigger than what you get on most scooters in the country. You've got, as you can see, there's a radiator out here. That means this is a liquid cooled engine. It's 156cc, and it is just a really very nice looking thing. It also feels good when you sit on it. This is a fairly low seat height for something that looks like this. It's below 800 mm, but it's also spacious, comfortable, nice upright, neutral riding position. If you're the type who likes to put their feet forward, you can do that. They stick out a little bit. They don't really fit fully flush in there, but there is the provision to move your feet around. It's also got a nice and spacious pillion seat. The width of the seat is really good, and for the rider also, there's a nice scoop in there, holds you in place. It feels good. It's a good view from the rider's point of view as well. This body colored panel out here does wonders for creating a sense of something that's different. There is no scooter in the Indian market right now that gives you this view, and that is a nice thing. You've also got a large windscreen, which is again great for aesthetics, also helps out on the highway. When it comes to features, it's a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, things are really quite simple. These indicators don't look very fancy. It's a black and white display. Switchgear is really quite basic. I think this is a step back from the Xoom 125 in terms of how nice it looks and feels. But then you have keyless function. You've just got a rotary dial out here, which is really very convenient to use, and remote access for opening the boot. You hit a button, that's the boot down there. In terms of numbers, it's not a very large boot, but it happens to hold a full face helmet, a big helmet, and there are very few scooters in India that actually do that. You need to position it carefully, and if it's one of those really long helmets, you may not be able to get it in there. This also just makes a little contact with the top of the helmet, but there's a cutout out here, there's soft foam out there, and you can put your helmet in here, which is again a very important thing with a maxi scooter. Someone is buying this for convenience, practicality, as well as big style and comfort. The boot also has a little light in there, which is always nice. And then when you come further up front, you have a cubby out here with a USB port somewhere in there. There it is. So that is a standard USB port, and if you want to open the fuel filler cap, you just twist this. That's your fuel filler cap down there. So it's all really convenient, and like I said, keyless. That's what the key looks like. You can also remotely open the boot via the key itself, which is another really nice convenience. So bigger riders will definitely find a good amount of comfort on this scooter. I did notice that through the ride, the seat is slightly sloped, so I was moving slightly forward, and at a certain point, I touched this with my knees, but it's a rounded surface. There's nothing there that can hurt you or that you can interfere with the scooter like a key or something like that, so that's not a concern. The nice thing is it's not just good for bigger people, because our photographer Omkar here is 5'3", and he says that this is actually quite accessible as well. It's a 787 mm seat height, and the seat does slope down to the bottom. So he is almost not on his tiptoes at all, almost flat feet on both ends. So pretty good, yeah? All right. So I think it's safe to say that Hero has done a great job with how the Xoom 160 looks, and a pretty good job as well with how comfortable and practical it is and how convenient it is, especially with that feature. I think that really improves the overall experience. But what about the engine? Well, it's an interesting story there. Let me first get it on the main stand because I can't start it on the side stand. This is a 140 odd kilo scooter. By scooter standards, that's heavy. It's about as much as a typical 150-160cc bike, and it takes a bit of effort to get it on the stand. Not horrible, but you'll notice that. Let's start with how this engine sounds. It's got a silent start. And it is otherwise quite conventional. It's not brappy or sporty sounding, not like an Ntorq, more along the lines of a Yamaha Aerox. It just sounds like a conventional scooter. So it is a smooth sounding and a smooth running engine as well. The fueling in terms of how it responds when you open the accelerator, very smooth. It doesn't jump off the line aggressively. It sort of builds power once you start with a little bit of acceleration. The initial response is not aggressive, but once you start to build some speed, it really keeps accelerating and accelerating, and it feels like it'll be a nice solution out on the highway. Top speed would depend on how much you weigh really, and if you duck down, I think you might see something between 110 to 120. So compared to the Ntorq 150 that we just rode, this will probably have a higher indicated top speed. Will it be as high as the Aerox 155? I'm not sure. That I think shows you a little above 120 on the highway, but this will also be a nice, large, stable, quick feeling scooter if you want to do intercity stints like Mumbai-Pune or something like that. This will get the job done quite well. That being said, there is one drawback with the riding experience that is a seemingly small thing, but I found it to be quite irritating. It's the fact that this accelerator has a really, really long twist, and you have to twist it all the way if you want maximum performance. Now, the way I look at it, if I'm spending this much money on a liquid-cooled 160cc scooter, the thing I want here is effortless performance. The performance is there, but it's not effortless because I really have to do quite an exaggerated movement. It's all the way to the limit of my wrist rotation, and either you do this or you readjust your hand and twist it open again. And I think a quicker throttle action would do wonders for the way the scooter feels in terms of just how effortless it is to ride. Nevertheless, with 14.6 horsepower, 14 Newton meters of torque, performance is good. It's just that you need to put a little work in to access all of it. On the topic of handling, things are interesting because this feels like it looks. It feels like a big, substantial scooter. The nice thing is that the steering effort is really very light. So when you're just setting off from parking speeds or you're slowly rolling in traffic, it doesn't feel heavy. It is quite an easy scooter to move along at slow speeds. It's also really well balanced. So under 10 kph, you're just rolling along in traffic. There's no sense of putting your feet down and things like that. The scooter holds itself very well. When it comes to braking, the performance is decent, and while it's not the sharpest front brake, the scooter does slow down well enough when you use both brakes together. As with most other scooters in this segment, you get a drum brake at the rear and single channel ABS is standard. Now, the Xoom 160 has been teased so far as an ADV-style maxi scooter, and the expectations of that are naturally quite big considering that a lot of people deal with bad roads on a daily basis, and the idea of an ADV scooter is quite an exciting thing. However, when it comes to suspension, it's not exactly what I was expecting. This scooter, Hero tells us, has a little more suspension travel than a conventional scooter. We'll put the figures down there, 90 odd mm of travel at both ends. It's also got big dual shock absorbers at the back, and I thought that this would be, this rugged, plush ADV sort of scooter. It kind of isn't. It is a bit on the firm end. I would say it's not as firm as an Aerox 155, but it's not dramatically different from the Aerox either. It handles bumps and imperfections in the road. If they're at a medium level, it's not a problem. I did notice that the front end judders quite a bit over white lines, those painted white lines on the road. That can feel a little harsh, but if you find a really bad patch of road and you would want to get through that like you're on an ADV motorcycle or an ADV scooter, it doesn't like it. The suspension starts to pitch you out of the seat, the scooter starts to show its weight, and the whole thing just doesn't feel like a very friendly exercise. So this is not the sort of thing that you would just ram through bad roads without any tension. You would ride this like you would any other scooter. It'll get you to many places like most scooters would, but it's not going to get you there rally style, jumping it, sliding it all over the place. It doesn't feel happy doing that. In fact, the one time I tried fooling around out here, just jumping it over some small rocks, on landing, the fuel filler flap opened up on its own. So the scooter doesn't seem to like being ridden that way. It will take on bad terrain, but you'll have to do it at a slow pace. Now let's talk about price, features, value for money. This is 1.49 lakhs ex-showroom, which is bang on par with the Yamaha Aerox, and a considerable amount more than the Aprilia SR 175 or the new TVS Ntorq 150. And all of these prices I've just told you are at the current rate of GST. I suppose when the GST rates are reduced on September 22, the prices will reduce as well. For that price, it's a bit of a mixed bag because you do get a very substantial premium looking and feeling thing. On the other hand, at a closer look, some of the things could have been nicer. Like I said, the switch gear. There is a brake lock clasp which is nice, but the finish on it is already coming off. It doesn't feel very high quality. But then you've also got nice bits like this good looking grille for the radiator, very nice mounts for the pillion foot pegs. That is an aluminium swing arm. It looks good. It really adds character and a premium look and feel to the scooter. So it is a give and take for the price. In terms of connectivity and features, you do have Bluetooth connectivity, turn-by-turn navigation, call alerts, and they will function off a cell phone app. But again, the screen doesn't look and feel that special. So like I said, it's a bit of give and take. Where is the Xoom 160 going to be available? Well, it's only going to be through Hero's new Premier showrooms, which is a good thing because that means that you will get an elevated buying experience. The after-sales experience will hopefully be a little more premium. The downside to that is that there are currently only 90 of these showrooms across the country, which means that rivals like the new NTORQ 150 and even the Yamaha Aerox 155 are going to be much more widely spread across the country in terms of dealerships and will be more easy to buy if you don't live in an area that has a Hero Premier showroom. So how do we sum up the Xoom 160? Well, I think if you've been one of the people who've been waiting for the scooter for a long time with the idea of having something that's awesome over bad roads, or even if you're one of those crazy guys who wants to take something weird into the off-road trails and go have some fun with X-Pulses and things like that, and you imagine that this would be an adventure scooter that could do it, I think you will be in for a bit of a disappointment because it really doesn't like being treated that way. But if you're just looking out for a maxi scooter, something that looks good, feels large, feels premium, helps you stand out from the crowd and also gives you great conveniences, easy to live with, in that case, you will quite like the Xoom 160. And if you live in an area with good roads, well then I think you'll really like the Xoom 160.